It has been a minute. Yes, it has. I apologize for that. But, without further ado, let's just get right into this. I'm going to do something a little bit different for you today and give you guys an update on that system I've been talking about that I had to postpone for a little while. I've done some work on it. I figured I'd let you guys know how that's coming. So we'll start with the basics that will affect the players primarily. The Dungeon Masters will have their own section, and they will be affected slightly differently, but regardless, the impact on the game will be the same for both parties. But let's start with what most people are more interested in. How will the party, how will the players be affected by these changes? Well, let's start. Each race in my game will get a set bonus, and they will get skills, and they will get a unique feature to themselves that upgrade as they level. So, the most prominent example of this would be the Dragonborn. So the Dragonborn in my system, when you pick the Dragonborn, they will have a bonus to 2 stats. They will gain proficiency in 2 skills. Although in mine it's called trained. They'll be trained in 2 skills. And then they will get their main class feature, or their main race feature, of the Dragon's Breath. Well, they'll choose a damage type, and whatever damage type they choose, their breath weapon will deal that type of damage, and then every time they use their breath weapon, they can choose whether or not it is a cube, or whether or not it is a line. So then it's also going to scale at certain levels to be even more powerful. So that's just an example. That's just an example of one. Classes will now each be getting their own sort of resource-ish system. Primarily the martial classes, as spellcasters, aside from the warlock, will have spellcasting as per usual, but it will be more regulated. And the half-casters will not be removed necessarily, but they will be reworked into more of a martial character with some magical abilities. So their spellcasting will most likely be removed and replaced with something else. I think the one thing that has changed most drastically from my previous iteration is that the 3 action system, like they have in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, will no longer be the basis of my system. It will be a structured action system similar to other systems like Dungeons & Dragons 5th, where you'll have the action that harbors most of the most powerful effects, which will be called the full action. Then there will be the light action, which is basically the bonus action. The move action, which is a separate action that you can only use to move. The reaction, which is used for certain abilities and spells and features, what have you. And then finally, the free action. The free action is an action that doesn't cost anything, won't do anything, and is entirely, as the name suggests, free. The main action, or the full action, will take the brunt of the most powerful effects, and you can only use a full action effect once per turn. So even if you have the ability to gain another full action, you cannot use another full action ability, as it will have the most powerful effects. However, in this system, there will be a prospect to where you can use light actions as full actions and gain a benefit from them. So you can essentially upcast a light action ability as a full action to gain an additional benefit, but they are unaffected by the one full action per round rule. The reaction will be for abilities and features, and the free action is for anything that I feel as if doesn't really need to have a dedicated action associated with its activation, so instead it will just be a free action. The move action is to limit the amount of breakup movement as there is in 5th edition, and somewhat nerf the effects of spells such as Phantom Steed and Fine Steed, as you won't be able to break up your movement anymore, since mounted combat will use your move action, not the mount's move action. Once you have mounted a creature, they do not have their own move action. They use your move action, but they use their move speed. What else? Opportunity attacks, no longer attached to reaction. You can make as many of them as you want, with no penalty, as long as the creature is within your range and triggers an opportunity attack via one of several new means and old means to trigger attacks of opportunity, then it will do so. Spellcasters will most be affected by this, as they are no longer able to stand within 5 feet of melee enemies to make melee spell attacks, because if you cast a spell within 5 feet of a person, they get to make an attack of opportunity against you. That's just how that works. And also casting in armor. If you're casting in armor that you're not proficient with, your spell fails and you trigger an attack of opportunity. What else? Each class, in addition to having their own resources, each one will be given a non-spoken role, but it will be detailed later in the book as to what role each class should play. There will also be more classes to be made that will fill in the gaps as to what the roles need the most. And these roles, their names aren't set, but essentially it will be the warrior role, which will be primarily tanking. It will be the DPS role, which is the damage dealing role, obviously. The support role, which is primarily based on healing and support abilities. And controller, I think, is the only role that hasn't changed from 4th edition, as I think it is the best interpretation of a crowd control specialist. What else? Like I said before, spellcasting will be changed, except for the Warlock. I have done some monster math, like I stated in my previous video, and then after testing it, it does work. It's just a little strange. It might need more tweaking. But then again, this could be because my current campaign is so vastly overpowered due to the fact that I have given them numerous magic items before I knew the importance of optimization and balance. So that might be my fault. But regardless, I think the monster math needs a little bit more tweaking. In addition, initiative. I tried group initiative, much like how D&D Shorts and some members of other servers have said is a very good way of doing combat, as it makes it feel more intuitive to the players. I have actually had the opposite success, where group initiative doesn't work because they end up just falling into the same rhythm of letting one person go at a time, as opposed to coordinating. So that might just be my table, might not be for everybody, but in the core system, I will stick with the baseline initiative, where you roll for initiative and you get put onto an initiative counter. There will be an optional roll for group initiative, but in terms of if it will be baseline, I have decided against it due to my own personal experiences and failures with said system. Whether or not the weapons will get a complete overhaul is up for interpretation on my part, as I believe that weapons should be interesting, but I haven't quite figured out how to make them more interesting than just giving them the same properties as they had in 4th and 3rd and 3.5, and giving them multiple feats dedicated to them, which would take a lot more time. So in terms of making them more unique, it's a little bit tricky. I'm working on that right now. Hopefully, here in the next week or two, my Barbarian, my 3rd iteration of the Barbarian rework, as well as my 2nd iteration of the Monk rework, will be completed to be in line with what I had envisioned for those classes in my current system, and hopefully they will be up on the Foxtail Foundry website soon. So be on the lookout in my community tab for that. I've also worked on a micro system that, once I get the opportunity to, I will link in the description if you want to check it out, download it, play it. Updates are regular for that. So if you want to test that out, similar to Honey Heist, Kobolds Ate My Babies, Goblins with Fat Asses, Oh No, Bigfoot Broke Into My House, or Broke Into My Car. Similar systems, if you want to check it out. It will be in the link to the description whenever I get a chance to. And in the next few videos, I will be sort of not really ripping, but giving my own interpretation as to what I would do to redesign the certain classes. If any of you are familiar with Cybrock of Cybrock Opinions, he has just completed his series on the exact same subject, talking about how if he were to redesign 5th edition and make it a better system for 5.5 or 6th edition, whatever's coming out, if he were to redesign it, what would he do to make it better? And so I'll be starting a series similar to that. To let you guys know how I am personally redesigning each class from 5th edition, and giving you an idea of classes I will be adding and what roles they will fill, based on what roles are currently lacking or missing in my current system. But with that, please stick around. The next homebrew review will be coming out hopefully this week. I'll keep you all updated.